You ever hear about the kind of HOA nonsense that ought to be in the Guinness Book of World Records? Because I swear what happened to me could fill a whole chapter, starting with the day they tried to bulldoze my 150-year-old ranch and slap a lakefront mansion on top, all without a single real permit. They called it progress, a symbol of a new community. Karen, the president, of course, stood out there live streaming the ribbon cutting like she was unveiling a national treasure. Thought she'd won. But Karen didn't know about the clause, not the one in her stack of papers, the one buried in county law signed by a Blackwood and locked away until it mattered. I was the only one with the original. And let me tell you, she built her dream on quicksand. By the time the court let me walk right through that new front door, Karen was already falling apart. But let me back up a sec. I'm sitting in court right now watching Karen point at me, sobbing, screaming about how my ranch ruined her life. You want to know how we got here? 8 months back, I was Ezra Blackwood, just minding Moonwater Ranch, 5th generation, 15 acres of lakefront, every log cut by hand, every fence post hammered in by someone who loved this land. My grandfather Josiah was a county judge. He knew how to keep vultures at bay. But then the pink envelope landed in my mailbox. Looked like a birthday invite, but inside it was a death warrant for my ranch. I should have seen the storm coming Karen out at 6 a.m. with a tape measure documenting my chicken coop like it was a crime scene. The woman had more dedication than a marathon runner, just aimed the wrong way. She'd lost her fancy architecture job 3 years ago, recession hit. Now she poured all that control freak energy into being queen of Clearwater Heights. She turned the HOA into her private fiefdom, treating our neighborhood like a giant Lego set. And losing your identity hurts. I get it, but she drew the line right through my family's soul. The violation notice she delivered was almost art, if you like bureaucratic horror. According to Karen, my vintage chicken coop was an eyesore, my split-rail fence inconsistent, and my woodworking shop was louder than a sawmill at dawn. She had decibel readings, timestamps, GPS. You'd think I was running a bootleg distillery instead of making chairs. The next morning, I walked to her place. She was waiting, blazer and all, mug that probably cost more than my monthly groceries, smiling like a shark. Ezra, honey, let's discuss your compliance timeline. Her clipboard looked like a traffic light, pink for urgent, yellow for medium, green for barely tolerable. My place was glowing pink. She went on about neighborhood harmony and visual standards, waving my property around like a prop at a TED Talk. That's when I handed her the trump card, my grandfather's exemption letter, yellowed with age with county letterhead, and a clause that put Moonwater Ranch above all HOA nonsense. I'll never forget how her face changed confusion, then almost pity. Exemptions die with the original owner, Ezra. When the land passes down, it's fair game. Your grandfather's agreement died with him. She sounded like she was explaining fractions to a kid. That's when I realized she'd done her homework, studied the law, found the loopholes, and wasn't just some nosy neighbor. She was coming for blood. Every day for weeks, Karen showed up with her measuring tape, her pink clipboard snapping photos from every angle. When old Mrs. Patterson hung her laundry, Karen cited her for visual pollution. I tried complying, painted my door that HOA-approved sage green so bland it hurt to look at, moved my woodworking to odd hours, even bought a shop vacuum. For 2 weeks, I did it all. And then came the second letter. Not mailed, taped to my door with enough scotch to survive a tornado. Final notice. Karen had filed a complaint for property seizure, saying my refusal to conform was abandonment. 30 days to turn my family's legacy into her fever dream or lose everything. I sat in my grandfather's workshop staring at the tools 5 generations of Blackwoods used, thinking about his advice. Sometimes you gotta let the other side think they've won. So I let her come at me. 3 days after the final notice, she showed up with a legal consultant, Richard Blackstone, looking like he charged by the minute. Behind him, her daughter, Jessica, live-streamed the whole thing, setting up ring lights in my living room like we were filming a Netflix docuseries. Richard's spiel was all eminent domain and greater good, shuffling papers over my grandfather's handmade table. Karen pulled out her iPad and showed me her real plan, 2 years of buying up all the lots around mine. My ranch was the last domino. She swiped through renderings, lakefront mansions, infinity pools, private docks. This isn't about you, Ezra. This is about legacy, mine, not yours. Richard's law talk got shaky when I asked for his bar number. Credentials are a formality, Karen said, waving him off. Jessica live-streamed the community enhancement meeting to her Facebook group, and the comments started rolling in Ezra's being difficult. Why not let progress happen? People I'd shared beers with turned on me in real time. Karen tried to make me feel guilty, saying the greater good needed my land, that my time had passed. Then they left, giving me a week to see reason. And in that silence, I realized this wasn't about land. It was about control. About Karen putting herself back on top after life handed her a loss. So I went hunting for answers. At the county records office, I found Martha Goldstein, 68, and she's basically a human archive. Your grandfather always said someone greedy would come for his land. Told me to show his grandson Box 1, 8 and 75 if it ever happened. She led me into the vault, pulled out the deed, and there it was, a perpetual heritage clause in Josiah's handwriting with county and state seals. Not just Moonwater Ranch, he'd created a precedent that protected every historical property in the county. Try to turn my place into condos, you'd owe triple damages and face an automatic historical site designation. Martha showed me cases where this law had already destroyed a couple of big-name developers, and she handed me a sealed letter from Josiah to me. Let them think they're winning. When they're all in, spring the trap. So I did. Made copies, got everything certified, and sat tight while Karen spent tens of thousands setting up her groundbreaking ceremony. She pulled out all the stops, Mayor News, even a reality TV crew. 100 guests, white tent, champagne, the whole nine. She strutted on stage like the queen of Clearwater Heights, describing her vision for the community, banners everywhere. Social media was buzzing, everyone live streaming, and Karen posed for the cameras, golden scissors in hand. That's when I stepped up, envelope in my pocket, politely asked for the mic, told everyone on camera about the heritage clause, explained how the law protected my ranch, and how Karen's project wasn't just illegal, it was criminal. The mayor called the county. The news crew switched focus from visionary developer to disaster in the making. Karen tried to claw her way back, screaming it was all fake, but I handed over certified copies and her supporters started melting away. Karen's meltdown became instant viral gold. She dropped to her knees in a $1,000 dress, digging with a golden shovel, shrieking about her ruined life as the sheriff led her off my property. Next came the lawyers. 2 weeks later, Karen showed up with Jonathan Pierce, a real shark. He tried everything, challenged the law as unconstitutional, tried to rebrand her as a historical preservationist, launched a PR blitz petition, drives you name it. Even city council members started praising her vision. But while Karen was reinventing herself, I was working with Martha, digging up the State Heritage Compact of 1876. Turns out my grandfather didn't just protect the ranch, he worked with the governor to create a backup that let the state override any legal trick. When the case landed in court, Karen and Pierce showed up ready for war, dozens of binders, expert witnesses, reporters everywhere. And that's when I brought in Charles Montgomery, the 89-year-old former governor who co-wrote the compact. When he took the stand, you could feel the room change. Pierce's confidence cracked when Montgomery explained that as state heritage executive, he'd just designated Moonwater Ranch a protected site unbreakable by any court, immune to all Karen's schemes. Even better, he dropped the bomb that the FBI was investigating Pierce's law firm for RICO violations. Yep, federal racketeering. Judge tossed Karen's lawsuit, hit her with $150K in damages, barred her from the ranch, and referred Pierce to the state bar. And you know what? It wasn't over. 6 months later, after the ranch became a state heritage site, after weekend tours filled with visitors, after my woodworking program took off, Karen knocked on my door with a bouquet and that old snake smile. Claimed she wanted to apologize, but all she did was try to get footage for her next victim live stream. I'd already swapped out my real antiques for fakes, and when she tried to cause a damaging accident on camera, the whole thing backfired. The sheriff arrived, escorted her out, and her last live stream sputtered out to a crowd of 30 bots and a few people telling her to seek help. A year later, Moonwater Ranch was a national landmark. My business was thriving, and Karen was just another sad cautionary tale, living in a studio banned from nonprofits, posting daily affirmations to 50 fake followers. Standing at the heritage ceremony with Montgomery and Martha, I thought about Josiah's advice. Sometimes you let the enemy think they've won. Turns out the worst people can make the best case for justice. You know what I mean? Maybe you've faced a Karen or two yourself, someone who thinks they can bulldoze your rights, someone who thinks power beats truth. This story's proof: stay sharp, know your rights, and don't give up what matters. If this hit home for you, share your own story. Drop a comment. Let's remind each other. Justice is a long game, but it's worth playing.